Dairy, and you're watching the Sister Girls Environmental Club TV show. And today, with me, I have...
Oh, I'm Sandy Pope, and I'm only the president of the organization. But the president wouldn't be good without having all of you as part of it.
And I'm Haley Prasad, and I'm one of the Sister Girls.
And our special guest today is Miss Kangela Moore.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me here.
No problem. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a community activist initially. I had started, probably be about 25 years ago when my children were in school. It started with PTA, school leadership team, President's Council, and advocating for our schools so that our children can have a better education, and really pushing the issue regarding community control for our schools. And subsequently, we advocated for our principals and just to ensure that schools were running fairly, that we had schools on our end, when I say our end, in our community that was comparable to schools that on the other side of Queens. Oh. And so I worked in doing that, and it's all community service, and slowly but surely I found myself advocating for the parks. And it's been about 10 years now. Next year will be our 10th year anniversary in Brookville Park, 10 years of volunteerism. And we had actually started because there was a rape that took place in the park, and you know, evaluating what was going on, I said, well, gee, what can I do? You know, how can we make this park whole again, in essence? And that is just bridging the gap with community and having them to take part in what goes on in the park. And it started with looking at observing the park in the way, the condition that it was in.
And seeing what you had to fix?
Yes, yes. So initially our trees were overgrown. We had the phragmites, which, as you know, grow out of the water. They were moving close to the edge, and they became a blockage. So all of these things were happening in our park where that it became a security issue, because if the trees are overgrown, you can't see behind them. And, you know, the park really needed love. And so we were able to get a lot of people involved. And we formed Friends of Brookville Park, and I became the president. And over the years, as I see that people normally don't have time for meetings, and I have a mantra that nothing stops the show. And, you know, people appreciate what I do to bring to the park, because initially things are done, and I'll call them and say, look, we're going to have a tree lighting. You know, are you going to come out and volunteer? Are we going to have, you know, Santa come out? And what I notice is that these organizations, they appreciate what I bring to the table, because subsequently I work with the Storm Riders, which is a motorcycle club, and predominantly all male. And these men do a phenomenal job, and to ensure that their park is advocated for. So when we have these events, they come out, they cook, they nice. You know, bring candy, you know, when we have our Halloween festival. And nice. They just really are involved. So we have that group. We also have Student Real Friends Network that come out, which is an education group. And they do a phenomenal job as well to ensure to work with us in regards to the environment. So we work with so many different other organizations. And what I noticed that, you know, with doing so, someone has to carry the ball, so to speak, to get the ball rolling. And I'm that person.
So what inspired you to be in this position, or these other unique positions?
Community. I love my community, and I want what other people have in their community. So by saying that is that you go to areas in Western Queens. I went over there to a few of the parks, and I saw lavender growing. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And, you know, no, it's untouched. And I said, I want this for our park. You know, I want to create this beautification for our community. And with that, you know, people become vested. You know, I live here, I'm doing things for my community park, and it becomes a great environment for everyone to claim ownership of this public space. And another thing is, speaking about public space, is that we don't have a recreational facility. So our public space acts as that meeting place. It acts as that safe haven that people can come and foster all these positive relationships and memories that they didn't have prior to us creating events. And not just necessary events, but tree workshops. I'm also a Million Trees facilitator. So I talk about the trees that are in the park. I'm also a master composter. So we were doing composting workshops. So there's a lot of things that, you know, we try to get people involved with to understand nature and to understand the park as a whole.
Yeah. You mentioned something about tree workshops. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes. So initially, when the Million Trees started coming out, it was more, you know, you would identify the trees that are in your area. You would understand that a tree needs a lot of water in the summer, how to take care. And so with the Million Trees, they would actually give you a package where you can help, you know, take care of street trees. So they would give you a pail, they will give you a trowel, they'll give you a hose, and also you can help your environment and the trees in your community. And you can adopt several trees or one.
Question, why are trees important?
The air, whoa.
Air.
Well, it's something about that they either give off carbon monoxide or they absorb carbon monoxide, something like that.
Well, trees are mainly important because they're one of our primary sources of oxygen, which, if you didn't know, we breathe it. We need it to live.
That's right.
They take, I believe, if I took in science correctly, they take in carbon dioxide and they use photosynthesis, using the sun, making their own sugars, producing their own food.
Thank you,
So
Cass.
they are autotrophs. I just learned that the other day. They're autotrophs, which means they produce their own food, and the gas they give off is oxygen, which we use. And then once we respirate it, once it goes through our respiratory system, we give off carbon dioxide, and the cycle continues. So it's part of the carbon cycle. Yeah.
I just
There you
got
go.
full education.
Yeah, it's
go.
really important to
Good.
know what the
Yes.
tree provides.
Yeah.
And that's why people say to talk to the plants, so the carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yes. Yes.
Also,
Excellent.
trees are really beautiful. I specifically love cherry blossoms because
so do
they
I.
are beautiful. I had like a mini cherry blossom once. I killed it kind of, but
I love to take pictures with them. They're
But you
so
know,
gorgeous.
those things happen when we kind of neglect, you know, the life around us and not understanding, you know, that it needs water, it needs sunlight for some plants or trees. And it's really good to understand that, you know, we're coexisting in this environment and we have to take care of our trees if we want to sustain ourselves.
because if you need to sustain, this is another good thing while planning. Activate a plan, which is one of the Sister Girls mottos. You have to plan, because I planned it poorly, because the week after I got it, I had to go away for Washington for a week, so I wasn't able to take care of it. So if you're planning on helping the environment, just make sure that you have a plan and make sure that you're able to take care of whatever you're going to be doing to sustain instead of helping, and to sustain your environment instead of harming your environment.
And make sure that you have all your supplies and that you have the resources and that you're able to.
Fantastic. Another question now, what happens to, what is forestation?
Forestation or
Forestation.
deforestation?
Well, one of those forestations, maybe you can explain what it is. In other words, when contractors come into an area and they cut all the trees down, how does it affect us?
Deforestation.
Okay.
Yeah.
It affects us because, as we just explained, the trees are so important to us. Not only are they pretty, but they are vital for us to live as humans and other animals as well. So I've heard in a study that every day at least 3 football fields, and it was a pretty big statistic of how many football fields are cut down each day because of contractors and because of wood, because of the making of paper, the making of building materials. And it's simply that humans millions of years ago, we were able to live without having to cut as many trees down. So now with, you know, still being humans and we're such creatures, we evolve. Yes, we do need more, but we have to be careful with the deforestation because it can seriously harm our environment and the population.
And take away the homes. And sometimes they don't even use, well, they'll use it for something else, but sometimes they won't use it straight away. And that affected the homes of the animals.
Exactly. For example, bees, if you don't know, bees love to build their hives from trees because lots of tree branches are usually incredibly strong. However, branches aren't going to be as strong now because pesticides that are used to make sure that the tree, you know, grows bigger and stuff to get more product out of it. And, you know, bees can't hang, the hives can't hang on weak branches, so bees are running out of places to build their hives and live.
Interesting.
Have you been to an area where it was deforested?
I haven't. I've been to fields, and I didn't know if they had trees there before, but that's all I know.
Well, I've been to Haiti, and it's interesting when you fly over the Dominican Republic. It's a plush land, a lot of greenery, and as you fly into Haiti, it's been deforested because they would use the trees for, you know, to make food, you know, in regards to their fires and things of that nature. And it was quite interesting. So when you take away the trees, it also, the water system, right? The roots that are there, it creates mudslides because now that rain, as it rains, there's nothing there to soak it up, right? It's extremely hot, right? So you get to feel the effects of not having those trees and like, wow, I really wish, you know, it was very hot, but yet still beautiful, still majestic in ways, but it was something that was not there.
Yeah, that's a great thing about the environment. It does have its pros and cons that say, you know, people may think that cutting down one tree doesn't really affect anything. Like, you know, it's one tree. But actually, you know, as you said, it can affect so many other things. It can affect the water cycle.
That's right.
It can affect carbon cycles. It can affect phosphorus cycles. It can affect everything that happens in the ecosystem. And the outcome is so devastating.
Extremely
it makes us
devastating.
disappointed and sad, and it's really hard to watch.
And this is why being community activists, being involved in our community is so important, to know these little different nuances that each one of us can do to help our community.
Yeah.
You know, and what Sister Girls is doing is phenomenal.
What are Sister Girls doing, Haley?
Sister Girls is Sister for Clean Water, and we are making sure that we take care of the environment, such as doing beach cleanups, and we do library presentations so we could inform everyone that it's important to clean the environment.
Excellent.
Because education is key. We have to make sure that we're educating the community because a lot of people, for example, we're educating everyone watching about deforestation and how to help Brookville Park and everything like that. Because if you don't know the problem, then what are you going to do to help solve it?
Absolutely.
True, true.
And it says for people to be informed, they can make informed decisions. When they don't know, you know, people act accordingly. But it's knowing, you know, holding each and every one of us accountable to know more, to do better in our community.
Yes, definitely.
You know, we did a show on getting rid of the cigarette butts.
Yes,
Remember that show? You want to talk a little bit about that? How does that, do you have a lot of people just dropping cigarette butts along the way, along the trails?
Yeah, I mean, that happens as well. Cigarette butts, empty water bottles, you know, all of those things are toxic to our community. We were just speaking about that and how, you know, communities are perceived, you know. So if your community is, you know, broken glass and all types of mayhem is going on, people make assumptions about people in that community. That is not correct.
That's true.
It may be a very few, but it's not correct.
Exactly.
So tell us about the cigarette butts. I mean, when you see all these cigarette butts all dropped all over the place, or, you know, people carelessly drop, this is what happens.
It's kind of annoying. Well, not annoying, but it is annoying, but